Joined right now by Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, and proof that Carmi knows everything about tech, and it doesn't matter what it is. We're talking Bitcoin. Carmi, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Great to be with you, Aaron.
I
Thanks for
sent you a
having
note
me.
saying, look, if you don't want to, if you want to back out of this, by all means, because this is complicated and it still makes people's eyes roll, I think, whenever we talk about Bitcoin. But the story, it's been in the news. So once again, after Bitcoin went from, I think at one point, $68,000 as a high, all the way down to like the $30,000 range, it's gone all the way back up. I hit over 65,000, I think, today. So people are wondering why. Do you have any idea? Does it have to do with new regulations in the U.S.? What's leading to this rise? Do you have a clue? You do?
Yeah, so a couple months ago, just after New Year's, the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC in the U.S., they approved something for Bitcoin. Basically, they allowed it to be used for ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, which basically means that Bitcoin could now be included in ETFs that are then traded. And it's like a financial instrument, like stocks, bonds, currencies, all that stuff. An ETF is can own all of these different financial assets and sort of combine them all, which approving them for ETF sort of formation means that it opens it up to a much larger market. And so that's sort of brought a lot more people into the market since January. There's been a lot more interest in it. People who wouldn't otherwise invest only in Bitcoin, well, maybe now they can invest in, when Bitcoin is mixed in with some other types of assets to maybe reduce the risk. And so it's spurred a bit of a run on it, and there's a lot of investors are coming in. It is the most popular cryptocurrency now because of that, and its value has just gone through the roof. But it's not a one-way trip. It's incredibly volatile. And for the years that I've covered both Bitcoin as well as cryptocurrency, because it's a technology-enabled currency, so it kind of it overlaps into my world. It's the volatility that stands out. What was originally created as a currency for the digital age. We're not buying pizza with it. We're not using it to pay our mortgage. It's so incredibly volatile that you really can't use it for day-to-day transactions. It's never gotten to that point. And its connection with organized crime, criminals love using it because the deep encryption, the architecture of it makes it somewhat easier for them to cover up their tracks when they use Bitcoin than when they use regular currency. It's one of the reasons why ransomware criminals love to ask for payments in Bitcoin. They're harder to track. So you put all that together, and if you've got the stomach for it, it's a worthwhile investment option for some people. But for the rest of us, not so much. And let's also not forget, it comes with a really significant environmental cost, because to process all that Bitcoin, to mine it, takes huge amounts of computational effort, which of course uses massive amounts of energy and does a really nasty job on planet Earth. So put it all together, there's a dark side to Bitcoin. And even though the value has gone up, it's only a matter of time before it comes crashing down yet again, up and down, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready for a roller coaster ride.
So you better have a huge risk tolerance if you want to get involved in Bitcoin. Okay, I
Exactly.
get that.
This is not a long-term thing by any stretch, and I'm not a financial advisor. I would recommend that you speak with your financial advisor, but the level of risk is significantly higher than with other traditional or more traditional forms of investment.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
The average person out there who says, well, you can't buy your mortgage, what could you buy a car with Bitcoin?
There have been sort of stunts over the years. For example, I think Pizza had a promotion at one point where you were able to buy a pizza using Bitcoin. There have been some ATMs that were set up that allowed you to buy and sell Bitcoin and things like that. But I would see the headlines, and then a few months later I'd go back, and lo and behold, those ATMs were unplugged, and that promotion had ended and wasn't replaced with another one. So there have been a few stunts along the way, including some banks that allowed you to have a mortgage in Bitcoin. But the sad reality is this has not been a viable day-to-day currency for us. It's not going to be replacing dollars in our wallets or our digital wallets anytime soon.
All right, let's move on. Talk about something that is tech-related this week. The federal government introducing finally that online harms bill. But I've heard arguments, we've had people on the air both ways saying, great, this is finally here, and others saying, no, this is not what it should be. Finally, we don't like some of what's in here. So what's your take on that?
My take, and I will wear my parent hat here. The digital space is incredibly dangerous for our kids. predators can find our kids on these platforms and target them. Amanda Todd, Rehtaeh Parsons were all familiar with these cases where these kids were bullied, sextorted to the point that they felt they had no alternative but to take their lives. And so I think we all agree as members of a just and honorable society that we need to do more to protect our kids in the digital space. Within that context, I'm glad to have an Online Harms Act in place and on its way to becoming a law, because a law, even if it's flawed, is better than no law. That being said, it isn't perfect. It doesn't apply to everything. It does not apply to messaging platforms. It only applies to social media platforms, streaming platforms, adult content platforms. And so there are glaring misses. It doesn't force these companies like Meta, like Google, like X to be accountable for sharing their algorithms, which would have been kind of helpful, but that's not the case. So there's still a way to go as the bill sort of moves forward in the House of Commons. I'd like to see these tweaks negotiated. We all have a role to play. Talk to your MP, ask them what they're going to be doing to ensure that this law is upgraded before it becomes law. But, again, start with something imperfect and work from there, because we can't allow American technology companies to decide how our kids stay safe online. We need better laws to hold them a little bit more accountable so that mom and dad can still have those conversations at the home. It doesn't mean that we can stop having those conversations. Ultimately, we are still responsible for our kids' digital safety, but now we have a better law to help us a little bit.
Last thing I want to bring up, and this is a story, I don't think I saw this all week. We haven't talked about AI yet, but we will now. There's a story that suggests AI can predict Alzheimer's disease up to 7 years before symptoms appear. What's this about?
The research out of the University of California at San Francisco, they've developed a machine learning model that can analyze electronic health records, and they've identified a number of factors, including high cholesterol and osteoporosis, that by digging really deep into the data, they can diagnose Alzheimer's years earlier, in this case up to 7 years earlier than traditional identification methods. And so this is absolutely crucial, because artificial intelligence, for all of the negative headlines that it develops, is an incredibly powerful medical diagnostic tool. And this research bears that out. We're seeing similar research for cardiac disease, for example, Parkinson's, others. And so this, especially given the explosion that we're expecting in Alzheimer's and dementia as the population ages, research like this will be absolutely crucial, because it means you can bring therapies to bear years before that would otherwise be the case today. Alzheimer's and dementia are diagnosed so late in the process that a lot of the therapies that would help, it's too late by then. This puts time on our side.
All right, there's some good news from AI. Carmi, thank you so much. Appreciate it.